Shalom, shalom, everybody. Once again, it is your brew, Ban Shemayim, back with another one. Today's video, we are going to be discussing Purim. This is the last day of Purim, so I just wanted to bring this video out so you know why we celebrate it and what the importance of it is. As you see from the background picture, if you could read that, we are going to be going through some of these scriptures. On that note, let's get ready to get into it. All right, so we're going to start off in Esther 3, verse 12. It says, Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there were written accord to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over the province, over every province, and to the rulers of every people, of every province, according to the writings thereof, and to every people in their language. In the language of the king Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces, to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace, and the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Shazan was perplexed. Right, so they came up with a decree to kill our people on this specific day, right? And the decree gets turned around. We about to go into that. Let's keep it going. Okay, next we're going to go into Esther 8, verse 3, when she spake before the king, right? And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman and Agittai, in his device that he had devised against the Jews. Then the king held out the golden scepter towards Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, If it please the king, and if I have favor in his sight, and the thing seem right before the king, and I be pleased in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedattus, in Agittai, which he wrote to destroy the Jews, which are all the king's provinces. How can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? The king Ahasuerus said unto Esther, the queen, and to Mordecai the Jew, Behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman and him. So now we getting into Esther pleading before the king, saying, listen, how could I watch my people suffer? So when I be talking about how we've always come together in any captivity and used the political system to benefit ourselves as a people, this is one of the things I'll be discussing. So Esther is pleading before the king for all of her people. How could I watch this happen to my people, right, to my kindred? Let's continue. Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen, and to Mordecai the Jew, Behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman. In him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews. Write ye also for the Jews, as it liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name, and sealed with the king's ring, may no man reverse. Right? So he's like, listen, I'm writing this in my name. I'm sealing it with my ring. It can't be reversed. It can't be turned over. Let's hop into this next section. Then were the king's scribe called at the time in the 3rd month, that is the month Shavan, on the 23rd day thereof. And it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants, and the deputies, and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia, in 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writings thereof. and unto every people after their language, and unto the Jews according to their writing, and according to their language. And he wrote in the king Azur's name, or Azurus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by post on horseback, and riders on mules, camels, and young dromedaries, which the king granted the Jews which were in every city to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life, to destroy and to slay, to cause to perish all the power of the people in providences that would assault them, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for prey. Upon one day, in all the provinces, the king Azurus, namely, upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar. So that's why we celebrate the 14th and the 15th day. Today would be the 15th day of the new month, right? Or of the last month before the new year, right? So this is why we celebrate it on this day, because these were the 2 days we rested after this. There was a decree to hurt us, and it turned against the people. You notice how we gathered together as a people, right? We represented each other as a people, starting with Esther representing us. And then after that, we gathered together to bring that justice upon the other nations. Not telling us to do that now. I'm just saying that we definitely need to gather. Let's continue. Upon one day in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, namely upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. So the posts that rode upon the mules and the camels went out, being hastened and pressed on by the king's commandment, and the decree was given at Shushan the palace, right? So Esther stood up for her people. Malachi stood up for the people. And then the people rallied together, which were already together, just in different sections of the world or different provinces. And they rallied together to defend themselves against their enemies. But you see, none of that could happen unless we come together. And that's one of the reasons I think we should definitely come together and celebrate this day. And this a day of giving gifts. We could give gifts and celebrate. I believe you could give gifts on any of the Sabbaths, but not on the Sabbath. Like, you have to give the gift Friday before the evening, right? But on this day, we can actually give the gift on the holy day and celebrate, as you're going to see as we continue. Let's keep it going. Now, we're going to go through Esther 9, 1, and we're going to start at 1. Now, on the 12th month, that is, the month Adar, and on the 13th day the same, when the king's commandment and the decree drew near to be put into execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned on the contrary, and the Jews had rule over them that hated them. And the Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, to lay hand on such as sought to hurt, or as such as sought their hurt, right? And no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. And all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and the officers of the kings helped the Jews, because of the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces, for the man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. So you see how when I was bringing up the politics, this is why, if you read through the Bible stories, we worked in the king's house. We benefited our people through working close to the king. Same way Joseph did it, same way Esther and Mordecai did it. Okay, let's continue. Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter, and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. And in Shushan, the palace, the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men. in Parshandanath, in Dalphon, in Ashpatha, in Portha, in Adelia, in Aridiatha, in Parshamatha, in Arisha, in Aridai, in Vajezatha. The 10 sons of Haman, and the son of Hamadatha, and the enemy of the Jews, slew they. But on the spoil laid they not their hands. On the day, the number of those that were slain in Shushan, the palace, was brought before the king. And the king said unto Esther the queen, the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan, the palace. And the 10 sons of Haman, what have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now what is thy petition? Right? So now he's like, listen, this was all carried out. What do you want next? What is your petition? What are you asking me to do? Let's continue. Now we're going to skip ahead to verse 18. It says, but the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day of the same they rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Therefore the Jews of the village that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, a good day, and of sending portions one to another, right? So this is why I say it's a day of gift giving, right? Sending portions one to another. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, in the 15th day of the same yearly, as the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, in the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, right? So days of feasting and joy, and sending gifts one to another, right? And sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. And the Jews undertook to do as they had, right? So let's go over that one more time. In sending portions one to another, and gifts unto the poor, right? And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman, the son of Hamadatha, an Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast Pur, that is, the lot, to consume them and to destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, and commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, and that he and his son should be hanged on the gallows, wherefore they call these days Purim, after the name of Pur. Therefore, all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Jews ordained, and took upon them, and upon their seed, and upon all such as joined themselves unto them, so as it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing, and according to their appointed time every year, and that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, and we about to continue forward. Okay, let's go over that last part again, right? The Jews ordained, and took upon them, and upon their seed, and upon all such as joined themselves unto them, so as it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing, and according to their appointed time every year, and that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, in every family, every province, in every city, and that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. Right? So this is why we keep this day, the day of Purim. So happy Purim to everybody. This is why we keep these days. Yeah, this is why we keep these days. This is why we celebrate Purim. Happy Purim to everybody once again. I hope y'all enjoy this day. This is why we're allowed to give gifts on these days. On that note, I just want to say, Kawla Haya by Shimyashai, which is all praises to the Most High in the name of His Son, that I had this knowledge and was able to bring this to y'all. I'm going to try to do this for all of the holy days going forward this year. On the holy day or right before it, try to bring a lesson plan. And I'm going to drop posts letting everybody know when the holy days are coming up a week or two before they come. The new year will be starting up. I believe that's on the 6th, right, of next month, or the 4th or the 6th, and then we have Passover. On that note, Shalom. Peace.